Yes.
Okay, whenever you're ready, I think we can get going.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on November 25th, 2020, and was posted on the Borough website at www.hpboro.com and on the bulletin board of the Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, on November 25th, 2020, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. As mayor, I preside over this council meeting and may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant statement or participation in the virtual meeting if the participant statement does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided to each participant for public comment, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. At this point, Josh, I'd like to ask you to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one
nation,
under
under
God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Very well. Roll call, please.
Mayor Brill Mittler,
Here.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Here.
Councilman Fine,
Here.
Councilwoman Foster, Councilman George,
Here.
Councilman Hale,
Here.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan, Borough Attorney Schmier,
Here,
Borough Administrator Jover.
Here.
All right. Does anyone from the council have any questions on the agenda for this evening?
No, Mayor.
Nope. Okay. This is our 15th virtual council meeting. A recording of the proceedings will be made available via HPTV following the meeting. Do we have any minutes to approve tonight?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, let's go right on to our council reports then. And I will start on the top of my screen with Councilwoman Canavera.
I don't have an official report, but I would just like to point out that December is our national awareness for driving drunk and drugged, and people need to be aware. Unfortunately, even though there's a lot of awareness, there still are a lot of deaths each year due to people driving impaired. So just want to make people aware of that. Also, December is the Universal Human Rights Month, and it's a good time for us to reflect on what we're doing to make sure that there's equality for all of the people in our world. And then along with that, today is also World's AIDS Day. And again, even though we've made a lot of steps, unfortunately, we still lose a lot of people. It's estimated that 2 million people die each year, and that includes over 250,000 children. And also Wednesday is Disability Awareness Day, to bring awareness and inclusivity to all people with a disability. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Councilman Fine, do you have a report?
I do not have a report tonight, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hale, do you have a report?
I do, Madam Mayor. So I wanted to let folks know that the planning board has a meeting this Thursday night at 7:30. There are two matters before the board. One is 433 Cleveland, the Charlottetown Girls School, and another is a development on 420 South 7th Avenue. So those meetings are by Zoom and 7:30 on the 3rd. So and as always, open to the public. So I wanted to let people know about that. I also wanted to let everybody know that we are going to be taking down the shared streets barriers and signage for the winter. After discussing it with SWAC and several other folks, we think that it's a good idea to take a break over the winter time. You know, the concept of shared streets was new to Highland Park. And I think in many ways it was a great success. We learned a lot about what really works and also things that we can improve. So working with a safe walking and cycling committee, and Councilman George, I wanted to give a shout out to for his leadership in sort of helping to set this pilot project up. I hope we're looking and able to do this again when the weather turns nice. But in the meantime, just for some sort of safety reasons and a break reason, we're going to be taking down all of the shared streets barriers, not the town tables. Those are going to stay. I want to repeat that. Those are not going anywhere. This is just the walking streets that we had created over the summer. So those will be down for the winter. We're looking to put those back up in spring and build on the success of that program. I also wanted to give a couple shouts out to Main Street Highland Park. Has done some interesting and fun stuff lately. There was a holiday artisanal market that was showcased a number of crafts and artists that was well attended. Farmers market, as always. They called the last one the Black Friday Farmers Market, which I thought was pretty clever. Again, also well attended. There is for this week the second annual Main Street Highland Park Gingerbread House Contest. So if you build a gingerbread house, you can drop it off to the Main Street office right next to the parking lot. And on Thursday or Friday before noon, there will take a picture of it, post that online, and there'll be a community vote for the best gingerbread house. The contest winner will get a gift bag of prizes from our downtown merchants. And they promise not to eat the gingerbread house either, because that would also be kind of bad. So it's a great fun little event. So if you are up to making a gingerbread house, please do that. Next week, December 8th at 9 a.m., the mayor and I are hosting an event with the Middlesex County on a small business grant programs that are just for small businesses in Middlesex County. Members of the County Economic Development Agency are going to be coming and providing some background and some information for small businesses just in Middlesex County, and a grant program, not a loan program. So this is a great opportunity for businesses to hear how they go about that process, what's available to help. And we're very excited about that. If you're a small business owner and have not received an invite to this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at halemathp@gmail.com. And I'll make sure that we'll get the invite out to you. We're also going to be soliciting opinions and thoughts from business owners and leaders about what we should be doing moving forward to help through these times. I also wanted to mention that the state of New Jersey has recently put forth a few new regulations in terms of outdoor dining. So if anyone with restaurants who want to do outdoor dining, you should just be aware of those. Our code officer, Scott Brescher, has volunteered to help people get a sense of what these new requirements are. They're generally about snow on top of tents in terms of safety, and fire exits in terms of safety. And so you can reach out to Scott and he can sort of help walk through what some of these state requirements are, so that we can make sure that those who want to and are able to do outdoor dining, which we heartily encourage, with temperatures in the 50s, why not eat outside? So, but we should do it safely. So you can reach out to Scott for that. And I'll just end, I mentioned that downtown business owners put together a packet for the winner of the gingerbread contest, right? That the prizes are from downtown business owners. That's just another example of how, even in times like this, our downtown business owners are doing everything they can to help the residents of Highland Park. And we need to help them as well. It's a broken record, and I'll say it again and again. And please go to the businesses in downtown. take a break from Amazon, take a break from Google, and go downtown and find something to eat, find something to shop. They're there for us, and we need to be there for them. So again, I'd really encourage everyone to please do that during this holiday season. That's all I have, Madam.
Thank you. Council President Phil George, do you have a report?
Just briefly, Mayor, thank you, Councilman Hale. I appreciate your comments, and I was going to mention that from the business end, DPW will be commencing picking up all of the items from the neighborhood streets, so that I didn't want people to be worried thinking we just willy-nilly canceled it. I want to mention that at our last Public Works meeting, we began to discuss the issue of bulk trash pickup, and we have a number of recommendations that we're considering. We found that we picked up, as opposed to the summertime when we picked up around 40 tons, we actually picked up 100 tons of bulk trash at the last pickup, and with tipping fees of around $17,000. So it really was the biggest that we have had yet. We found that we can accommodate about 50 pickups on the north side in Triangle and 50 for the south side. So what we are considering doing is going to an appointment system twice a year. And we're also considering that if we have the townwide yard sale, that we might wrap one general pickup. With that tonnage, it took us 7 days to pick everything up. So the bulk trash was engaged in by a lot of people, and just want to, some people were complaining that it wasn't getting picked up. The reason is there was such a volume that it took a long time. And also people were putting out trash even without appointments and so on and so forth. So the Public Works Committee is considering bringing forward a program in January that will put in place. Again, some of it will be contingent on whether we have our yard sale next year or not. The only other thing I wanted to mention, Mayor, was that on the agenda off consent tonight, we have a resolution regarding the energy aggregation program. And as we may discuss a little bit more when we get to that point, we found that in response to the RFP from the various companies that responded, that there was really no savings over the present PSE and G rates. It's probably due to the state of the economy and the energy industry as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and various and sundry international issues. However, when we get to that point, if there's any further discussion, Ms. O'Vera and I can deal with that. But I just wanted to let everybody know that that is on the agenda for tonight. We haven't forgotten it. It was one of the big movements that our environmentally sensitive committees and residents wanted to bring forward. Their RFP just did not bring any kind of a result for us. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Foster, are you in this meeting?
Yes, Mayor. Hello, everyone.
Okay. I assume you don't have video access.
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay. Do you have a report for us?
Nothing new, but to just remind people that the weather has changed. It's darker outside, to walk on the sidewalks, utilize the sidewalks as much as possible, and continue to wear their protective gear when they're out and about. And I reported last time about changing your smoke detectors, carbon dioxide detectors, all that stuff, to continue to make sure that happens in your house and to be safe where fire safety is concerned. And this is not finalized as yet, but we're looking at, because of the spread and what we had in our public safety department, in the police department, because during the holiday season, we had to stagger shifts so everyone would be safe. So there has been some staggering of shifts during the holiday, and I'm quite sure it's going to be similar for the upcoming Christmas holiday. that the shifts are going to be staggered again, working for people working within the police department. And with that said, we're also looking at how can we continue to produce and provide services to everyone, not only, but including our community forum. And we're having some discussions about how possible that is when the shifts are on skeleton crew. So I just want to put it out there. The chief and I are working on that. We're looking at it, but it may not be possible because of the holiday season that's upon us and the schedule that they have to have, because we have seen a huge uptick in COVID cases everywhere. And I even myself, I have family members who are now positive with COVID. So it hasn't been an easy time. So that's my report. Everyone needs to stay safe.
Thank you, Elsie. All right, let's move past the council reports to the Borough Administrator's report.
Just one item, Madam Mayor. Councilwoman Foster mentioned the staggered schedule in the police department that's been implemented. We've also adjusted the borough office's schedule where we basically have staggered shifts between personnel to reduce the number of people in the office at any given time. Again, trying to reduce the opportunity for COVID exposures. Our office hours remain the same. The services to residents should remain the same. The one thing I'll remind residents is we were by appointment only, and now we are extremely by appointment only. We will try to help you if you walk up, but you're better off calling first, making sure the person you need is available to help you out prior to coming to the borough. Again, we're just doing this to protect our residents and our employees here and the businesses we work with. And I just will say I was the proud victor in the baked pie contest in 2019 at Main Street, and it is quite a goodie bag, I will tell you. So I highly encourage all participation. You will not regret it, and it's just a lot of fun. So good luck to those of you more ambitious than me who are going to do a gingerbread house.
Thank you. Let's move on. Borough Attorney, do you have a report?
And no report, Madam Mayor.
All right, I just have a brief report. Several of the council members mentioned some of the effects of COVID-19 that we're going through. That includes significant increases in our client base at our food pantry, at the HP Gives a Hoot group that's been working with our Zone 16 Center to provide foods for other families. I want to give a big shout out to the food pantry volunteers, HP Gives a Hoot volunteers, Zone 16 Center volunteers, and of course, all our dedicated employees that work at the community center who help all our volunteers make these efforts happen. And things have been busier than ever these last few weeks. Right now, speaking of COVID, we've had 363 cases through yesterday, and that's almost 3% of our population. We had 70 cases in the month of October, 78 cases in November, and it's heading higher each month. And I'm not happy to think that we may be back at the kinds of levels we saw in the spring as we see the numbers continue to climb during the winter months. I'm asking everyone who has been traveling to visit family to please quarantine in your home for 14 days before you interact with other people in town outside of your home. Avoid groups, especially indoors, and please continue to wear your masks whenever in public and keep at least 6 feet of social distance. We will get through this, but I do believe it's going to be a bumpier road as we head into the colder winter months. All right, that's my report. We are about to enter right now our first public comment session. There will be 21 minutes in total, 3 minutes for each speaker. And this portion of our public comments are limited only to items that are on the agenda, including our work session. So if you want to speak on an item that is not listed, please wait till the second public comment session when you can come and comment or question anything, if whether it's on the agenda or not. The borough clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. She will give you a warning when there is 30 seconds remaining. There will be a hard stop at the 3-minute mark to make sure everyone has time to speak. As a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement, or if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is abusive, obscene, or irrelevant. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand by pressing the *9 button on your phone keypad, or use the raise hand application on Zoom. The borough administrator will announce your turn by reading out your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please begin by telling us your first and last name as well as your address. Again, if you would like to speak about a topic on the agenda, please raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone or the raise hand button now. Borough Administrator, are you seeing any?
I don't see any hands, Mayor.
Okay, then we will move on to the rest of the agenda. We're going to start with the ordinances requiring a second reading. First, clerk, could you please report on advertising ordinance accepting a conservation easement with trail provision on block 75, lot 15.02 for consideration of passage on final reading by title?
An ordinance of the Borough of Highland Park, County of Middlesex, accepting pursuant to NJSA 40A:12-3, a conservation easement with trail provision on block 75, lot 15.02 on the Borough of Highland Park tax map, was duly advertised for consideration of passage on final reading by title, and affidavits of publication are on file. The ordinance was posted and made available for public inspection as required by law.
Okay. May I have a motion to take up the ordinance on final reading by title?
So moved. Second.
All right, any public hearing?
Mayor, just a reminder, people need to press *9 or raise hand if they would like to make comment.
Thank you for that, Borough.
I don't think we put that in the. Looks like we have one hand up. Forsberg, you're coming up as, can you please just state your name and your, hold on, I'm gonna stop your video. Okay, sorry about that. I had to promote you to panelist because of the version of Zoom you're on. Please just state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Mary Forsberg, 317 Dennison Street. And actually, I am not talking about the agenda. I would like to talk about other things, but I can.
Oh, you raised your hand during the public comment for the conservation easement.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Well, oops. So
Okay, so
I'm going to now.
Mary, just raise your hand later on when we're at the
Now I have to.
Okay,
agenda.
okay,
Okay,
thanks.
now I have to figure out what to do with that. I have to leave her there as a panelist for the time being, and I'll just call on her when we get to the public comment. So I guess we have no hands, Mayor.
All right, then may I have a motion to take up the resolution to adopt and or reject and advertise the ordinance on final reading by title?
Motion to adopt. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale.
Yes.
Just 1 second. Okay. We're going to move on to our consent agenda items. May I have a motion to adopt the items number 14A through K and item number 122318.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
All right, we're about to move into the session where we will have separate readings of resolutions. And before I get to resolution 1220-319, Borough Administrator, did you have a comment you would like to make about this resolution?
Yes, Madam Mayor, as Council President George indicated in his report, we opened the bids that came in. Unfortunately, one of the criteria we had set was that we would increase the renewable energy portfolio over what PSE&G is required to. However, we wanted to also come in at below or at no worse equal to what PSE&G would charge. And unfortunately, the results of the bid were such that we couldn't award tonight. So it's my recommendation that council moves to reject. Having said that, when we advertised the bid, we also gave the provision that we have the option to reopen the bidding process within 120 days if we believe that there is reason in the market or other forces at work. And we would, if that was to be the case, our consultant, Gable Associates, would advise us with their recommendation that we do so. And I come back to council, and we hope to maybe be able to award within that 120-day period. If failing that, we still have our ordinance that we passed to establish the program, and we will continue to pursue bids for this energy and other opportunities in this area. So while I know it's a little bit discouraging, I was reassured by our consultants that this does happen, and we just need to bide our time and wait for our right moment where we can get all of our goals met, meaning the energy savings, but also the renewable portfolio we're looking for. So with that, I would recommend that the council make a motion to reject the bids at this time.
Council President George, do you agree with that?
I agree, Your Honor, and I would make a motion to reject the RFP responses that we have received for the current time. I'd note for the public, we still support this project, and we will, as the atmosphere and the economics change, will certainly be going out again.
All right.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Checked.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes to reject.
Councilman Hale?
Yes to reject.
Okay. Next resolution is opposing the transportation of liquid natural gas by truck and rail in New Jersey. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
I'd just like to note that this resolution opposes the construction of a terminal and also the transportation of liquid natural gas that's been fracked out of Pennsylvania along New Jersey's roads and river. It's been approved and recommended by our Environmental Commission and also by Sustainable Highland Park. I'd vote yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to accept 2019's audit?
So moved. Second.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale.
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to approve emergency shelter program agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale.
Yes.
I am appointing Jeffrey Anthony as alternate number 2 to our Board of Health. May I have a motion to confirm?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera,
Yes.
Councilman Fine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster,
Yes.
Councilman George,
Yes.
Councilman Hale.
Yes.
I am appointing Alan Kluger and Jeffrey to the Planning Board. Alan Kluger and Jeffrey Perlman as alternate number 1. There's no confirmation necessary. All right, we are about to enter our second public participation section. As a reminder, 3 minutes per speaker on any item, subject to a 9 p.m. conclusion prior to the work session. The Borough Clerk will monitor the time and will offer a 30-second warning and then indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. The session will wrap up by 9 p.m. as I stated. If you would like to speak, again, please raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone or select the raise hand button on this Zoom application. The Borough Administrator will announce your turn by reading out your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please begin by telling us your first and last name as well as your address. Again, if you would like to speak about any topic, please press *9 or the raise hand button now.
Mayor, I do see some hands. I'd like to take Mary Forsberg first, just because she can't raise her hand because I had to change her status. So,
Okay.
Mary, I'm gonna unmute you, hopefully, or I'm asking to unmute you. Now, Mary, please unmute yourself and state your name for the record.
Am I unmuted?
Now you are.
Yeah, I am. Okay. My name is Mary Forsberg. I live at 317 Dennison Street in Highland Park. I want to talk about the redevelopment plan, not too surprisingly. And I appreciate the fact that you have changed the dates that you would approve the plan to next year. And so because you were planning to do it 2 weeks from now, I would like to have to find out some information about the plan. One of the things that was sent to me was a conceptual plan from LRK, and it said that the plan would be made available to the client for distribution to professionals in order to do a feasibility study, including an economic impact, financial, and parking analysis. And I guess since it would be 2 weeks from now that you would actually be voting on this plan, I would think that that analysis and that information should be available. And I would like to request that. Also, in 2018, Councilman Fine asked about whether the borough could somehow own a municipal parking garage. And the mayor said that they had spoken to the owner of Track H, Jim Polos, about his lot, but, quote, "we are awaiting the proposal from the parking committee." I would like to see a copy of the parking proposal parking plan that was actually supposedly done. And I would like to know if you have, how often you have spoken to Mr. Polos about that. I understand that with the parking plan, that there are a number of you who think that we should be having residential parking permits and parking meters on the avenue. And I would sort of like to hear why you think that's a good idea. I guess that's really all. Oh, and my only other comment is that I've been reading a lot of your minutes and reading a lot of the plans. And I would like to note that in the most recent plan, 58% of people
30 seconds.
Square public space, while 15% wanted more parking. And I'd like to know where the Borough Square is going to be. I can't imagine that the Festival Street will be an appropriate Borough Square.
Okay, so there was a lot in all of that, Mary.
Yeah.
There were several parking plans done. The most thorough was done by Council President George and his committee a couple of years ago. I'm not sure if that plan is on the website or not.
I haven't found.
Mayor, I don't believe that it is. It was a report made to the mayor at the time. This group was composed of citizens and members of various departments. It did not reach any absolute conclusion as to a parking garage or even to some other issues. It looked at the problems we had, and also there were probably 4 or 5 prior parking studies done back as far as 2008. Some of them were only parking counts. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we found was that that the borough should look at the question of paid meters, because we found that through a study we did through the police department for determining the movement of vehicles along Raritan Avenue, and not the entire stretch, but the downtown area, that many vehicles did not move for substantial amounts of time during the day, either because they were employees who parked on the street, or in fact, we found, especially down closer to the bridge end, that they were commuters. And since back in the 70s, we took the meters out, and I remember, because I lived here during that time, I remember them removing the meters because the merchants wanted them out to encourage traffic. So that was one problem that we found. We did not reach a conclusion regarding the garage, but only that the construction of a garage or other structured parking would probably result in overflow into the residential areas because people would not want to pay a fee. We actually were looking at it, if you'll recall at the time, the study was actually done originally about 5 years ago, that the problem was that we were considering whether we could be part of New Brunswick's transit hub, and would it be feasible to have commuter parking here for the train station and for the tech and hospital and university industries in New Brunswick, and it was more in the line of a commercial type garage. But we didn't reach any very specific findings or so on. It was simply, if the borough considers this, these are some of the issues that need to be considered. So that the parking study did not really make a recommendation one way or another. It said our task was to find out the issues and make recommendations to the borough. Should we require or should we desire to go in certain directions? And the parking study, I think that Councilman Hale should address more with regard to the strategic parking plan, but simply from my practice in redevelopment and having been the director of redevelopment for the Newark Parking Agency, a strategic parking plan is significantly different, right, and a part of any redevelopment plan.
Councilman Hale, did you want to talk to that at all?
Thank you.
I can just add real quickly, and I think, thank you for that background. The idea of meters, or the idea of resident parking, or all of those ideas are part of the mix, but there's no decision that has been made, or there's no preference that has been made, and there's no either in the original studies or any of the discussions since then. There are clearly going to be parking issues that we need to focus on and address and to think about as much as we can. So that's I think all I have to add. There's certainly not been a decision made about any of the parking, any of those. As we've said again and again at these meetings, that we're really at the 100,000 foot level at this point, sort of focusing on a framework for this. So I don't think that we're anywhere near that level of granular detail. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, thank you. Terry, is there another hand?
We have a couple other hands. Looks like Rebecca Sipis is next. Please unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rebecca Sipis, and I live at 52 Brookdale Court in Highland Park. I'm speaking this evening on behalf of the Middlesex Black Jewish Coalition. I just want to mention first that the coalition's first public program, titled Hear Thy Neighbor, Stories from Middlesex County's Black and Jewish Residents, will air on YouTube this Sunday at 4 p.m. It will feature our own Councilwoman Foster, and we're very excited about that. So you can find it just by going to YouTube and looking for Middlesex Black Jewish Coalition. You may remember that I spoke at the most recent Borough Council meeting to request that the Highland Park Borough Council adopt a resolution in support of State Assembly Bill A4656 and Senate Bill S2963, which would allow municipalities to establish civilian complaint review boards with subpoena power to review complaints against police officers throughout New Jersey. Subsequent to that meeting, Norma Vargas, co-chair of the Middlesex Black Jewish Coalition, sent the text of a proposed resolution in the hope that the council would consider adopting it. Madam Mayor, we very much appreciated receiving your response, stating that the Equity Advisory Council of Highland Park is working with you to determine a way forward regarding the creation of a community policing board. This is wonderful. This effort should and can continue alongside advocacy for Assembly Bill A4656 and Senate Bill S2963. We were very gratified to learn that the mayor and Councilwoman Foster have been working closely with Newark's Mayor Baraka and his team on this very issue. And I just want to point out that Newark's mayor issued a press release on September 24th, 2020, stating in part, quote, "We must pass Assemblywoman Angela McKnight's Civilian Complaint Review Board legislation immediately," referring to this very bill, A4656 and S2963. Continuing the quote, "If passed, this bold statewide CCRB legislation will provide much needed transparency and accountability." So we hope that your local efforts on the establishment of a way forward in community policing will continue alongside robust advocacy, which we hope you will adopt. So on behalf of the MBJC, I would respectfully request, Mayor and Council, that you pass a resolution in support of A4656/S2963, which would allow municipalities to establish civilian complaint review boards with subpoena power. Alternatively, you might follow what the mayor of Newark did in releasing a statement similar to that, statement, supporting this important legislation. Thank you so much for considering this request and for your leadership on this issue.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, next.
Let's see. Sorry, gotta do my, next up is Matt Hirsch. State your name and address, please. You need to unmute yourself.
Hey, is this, I'm sorry, it's Matthew Hirsch, 333 Felton Avenue in Highland Park. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to I attended the redevelopment, the master plan hearing on the redevelopment element, and I just wanted to thank Councilman Hale, Mayor Brill Mittler, Jim Constantine, and the whole team for providing a really excellent overview of some of the issues that I think the borough is going to be facing, and with redevelopment moving forward. It doesn't take a seasoned urban planner to walk around town and look at the parts of town that need more than just TLC, but really need a plan. And obviously this takes a long time, is addressing the needs of the properties, bringing in good faith developers who will work with the community and provide, hopefully benefits for the community, and really just setting that kind of blueprint. So I'd really have to twist myself in knots to be critical of what was presented. I thought it was, an excellent overview. And of course, I mean, I think we all know that any of those individual properties are going to go through, a public hearing once there's a formal application and that conforms to the standards that were set there. So I just really wanted to thank you for that. I thought it was excellent. And man, I think I think I speak for a lot of people where I just can't wait for a great walkable downtown for for myself and the kids and the whole community. So really hats off. And I just wanted to actually, while I'm here, I did want to echo support for Assembly Bill 4656. It is for anybody keeping score at home. Assemblywoman McKnight is a primary sponsor, but so is Assemblywoman Shavonda Sumter, and the bill is actually in her committee, Community Development and Affairs, and has been kind of waiting for a hearing in there since September. So I would strongly encourage anybody listening to also write Assemblywoman Sumter at aswsumter@njledge.org and encourage that this bill gets set up for a hearing. Obviously, she supports it, but there's a docket and the hearings are a mess because of COVID. So it'd be great if they could get that bill in for a hearing. And that's it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Borough Administrator, anybody else?
Let me double check. No hand. Oh, looks like we have a last second hand. Jeffrey, can you state your name and address, please?
Certainly. This is the recently appointed Jeffrey Anthony, living at 501 Raritan Ave. I just wanted to thank you all for the appointment. That's very exciting. And as you're talking about redevelopment, I recently had the privilege of sitting in some Healthy New Jersey 2030 planning meetings. And there's a huge focus on walkability. But in light of, disability awareness is something that I work on a lot. I encourage, as you plan the future, to look at how we can not just make our sidewalks more walkable, but more like wheelchair accessible and things like that. So that is a big thing, and I'm loving what I'm hearing. So thank you so much, and thank you for appointing me.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We look forward to working with you. Okay. Borough Administrator.
I think, sorry, I'm trying to lower hands and do talk at the same time. Looks like we are all done with hand raising.
All right, then we will move on. Okay. So this is the point at which I ask my council members if you need to take a recess or if you'd like to just go right into our work session. All in favor of flowing right into work session, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go to work session items now. No formal action can be taken during the work session. The first thing on the agenda is the rules of order, which we will be voting on, I believe, at our next session. So Ed, would you like to fill us in on anything there?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The rules of order, there's a draft, I believe, circulated by Joan. The council has had rules of order. If you take a look at the last page, the most recent amendment was about 2 years ago in December of 2018. Periodically, we go through those and we suggest certain updates and revisions. The most significant revision in this set of rules of order involves the transition you made at the beginning of the year to do away basically with the agenda meeting and to incorporate that into your regular meeting. So before, the rules of order used to have a whole section dealing with the protocol for the agenda meeting, which was basically a separate meeting. That's not the case any longer. And in fact, you have been basically using the new format as under the rules of order since probably early spring. If you take a look at your agenda this evening, you take a look at the agenda outlined in the rules of order. I think they're identical. I think Joan has been using that with the mayor's encouragement. I think it's worked pretty well. So, I would invite everybody to take a look at them. If there are any questions, I'd certainly be happy to answer them. And we'll have those ready to go with a resolution to update these for the meeting on the 15th. If there are any questions now, I'd be happy to try to answer those, or you can certainly talk to me between now and the 15th.
Any council members have any questions? Or Terry, I don't know if your hand
I don't have a question, but I wanted to, one of the other major changes which we've been doing for so long, I just wanted to point out, was the merging also of the work session into the main. So we basically have one agenda now. We went from basically 3 meetings to 1 meeting, even though we did them typically on the same day. And when we were in person, we would move to the conference room and back and forth. Now this consolidates it into one agenda, 1 meeting. So I wanted to make sure, I think this has been our status quo now for quite a while, but that was a significant change as well.
Okay, and any questions from the council? Okay, then Ed, we look forward to the presentation on the 15th.
You're welcome. I'll have it ready to go. And just for Matt's information, we got it right, Matt. Under section 7, under quorum is 3 council people and the mayor. So we could have proceeded.
Well, thanks. I actually, we just got this a little bit before tonight's meeting. So I looked at it quickly, but I will definitely have some questions on rules of order. So
we weren't winging it.
All right, good. Good.
Thank
we
you.
also added the Zoom stuff in, just FYI.
Yes,
You'll notice that is a new feature as well.
Right. Okay, I just want to update everyone on the Mental Health Commission that we pulled together a couple of months ago. And I want to thank Tara for her involvement in that commission as well. We are still in the process of putting together the bylaws. I'm hoping that we'll have that all established in time for the next meeting so that it can be on the agenda for a vote. And I just wanted to let the council know that it is moving ahead. Okay.
I just want to, can I just remind everybody that Susie Welkowitz was a big part of kicking that off at one point. She was very insistent and really wanted to have us have a focus on mental health. So this is wonderful that it's continuing to go in something that was very, very important to her.
Mayor, I agree as well. I think it's important. I noticed in particular in speaking to a number of seniors distanced on Thanksgiving morning, driving around, dropping off muffins, that there's a sense of melancholy this year and nostalgia that I think is more serious than meets the surface. I think this is a very important need right now.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. All right, 2021 bulk trash program. Phil, did you talk about that in your opening remarks?
I did briefly, Your Honor, but just to amplify a little bit more for council's information, we are still working on it through in Public Works, but basically the recommendation as I said, we can do 50 pickups on the north side and 50 pickups on the south side. And DPW recommends it for our consideration twice a year, with a possibility of a third townwide pickup if we do a townwide yard sale. The first period would be April, May, June. The second is recommended for September, October. But they feel that we need some rules as we go forward and put this together. And we'll be discussing it at the next Public Works meeting, that the reservations have to be booked timely in advance so DPW can arrange its time. The last pickup, instead of 1 day, took 7 days. 1 day for each side of town, the north and Triangle and then the south. The trash needs to be put out early, not last minute or even after your pickup has occurred, because We can't go back and pick up. We can't do if it's late or if you made no reservation and just put it out. So those are some of the rules that DPW has observed from their years of doing it, not only just as townwide, but north, south, but also by appointment. So going forward, we'll need to look at some rules to organize it a little bit. Those are the recommendations. We'll want to throw it around a little bit more at the next Public Works meeting while we've had a chance to review it, and DPW will be coming back with some firmer recommendations at the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Bring your own bag ordinance. Terry, you wanted to speak to that?
Sure. This also was discussed at Public Works previous, but I said I'd take it on because it really was a question of timing. Essentially, there was a strong push from our Sustainable Highland Park, which was, as you know, our champion for this effort getting underway. In the first place, we took a hiatus from enforcement due to what was reported to us as being difficulty in getting paper bags. Essentially, we said we would not be enforcing the ordinance as a result of the pandemic and the supply shortage. That no longer appears to be an issue, having kind of heard from different vendors. And so the question became, what should we do? When should we start? And this all kind of kicked back up, especially because the state of New Jersey and governor signed legislation to do a much more aggressive ban on plastic, ban on paper, styrofoam, straws, I think, you name it, a very ambitious and I'm excited about effort. It's going to take that 18 months to get up and running. But the question became, what do we do about ours in the meantime? And there seemed to be a consensus about getting it back up and running, but giving the merchants time and notice, just like we did the first time. So the proposal would be to have basically start to communicate now that in the new year we'll be resurrecting the ordinance and that enforcement will begin in by mid-February. So that gives people 2 months to use up old inventory, etc. And we have a kind of a fairly detailed and list of people to reach out to let them know, because it kind of boils down to a certain handful of vendors that have this impacts the most. And so we'll be working with those. And we'll also be communicating with them about this new legislation if they're not aware that it's coming, which will require additional preparation. And we will coordinate with Main Street, of course, so that they're able to advise the merchants as well. So, so the proposal would be basically the ordinance would come back online in the new year. However, the enforcement of the fee for paper and the non-issuance of plastic, we were anticipating mid-February or end of February, but depending on how quickly we could get the word out. So I just wanted to present that here to make sure there were no questions or if there was any discomfort before we move along those lines. I'd like to know.
Everybody okay? Okay.
I actually, I'm sorry, I just have one question. Is it, we really don't, if there are future lockdowns, if there are different, is the potential for that may affect our timeline, right? Like if there is, if we go back into lockdown mode for COVID, and if the problem comes up again, we still have the ability to adjust that time frame if things get truly bad over the next 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious, it's within council's discretion to do that.
Right, okay.
I would just remind you though, I think there was a perception it was due to like germ transmission concerns.
But that's not true.
That wasn't the reason. So I just want to make sure that's more for anybody who's listening. That wasn't the reason. It was really due to supply chain issues, which I'm hopeful we won't run into that toilet paper supply issue again, but you're right. If that were to happen, knock on wood, we've hopefully learned a few things since then. We could certainly readjust. And the truth is, we're not aggressively looking to penalize. Even when the enforcement resumes, it'll probably be like, hey, aren't you aware? You know, please try, you know, it's going to be very friendly, just like it was the first time around. This is really a community-based effort, and this isn't meant to be to punish the merchants that are just trying to, do their business. So we'll work with people, but we've been asked, and I think it's reasonable given that the supply issue doesn't seem to be it. And in fact, several of the larger retailers in town have not resumed plastic, even though they could have. So I think that's also an indication of where kind of national trends are going. So
great. I think that's a really important clarification. Thanks for that.
Great. And then I see, Josh, did you have more to add to Becca's statement before about the Assembly and Senate bills?
So all I wanted to add on for this is I was going to ask the council to support putting this draft resolution, which was sent out for Assembly for Bill 4930 and Senate Bill S3013 onto our December 15th consent agenda. Just to clarify, the bills that I'm talking about now would change all references of security aid to health and safety aid in the School Funding Reform Act of 2008 and related statutes to reflect that a secure school also includes students' mental health and well-being. And the bills would also amend the Secure Schools for All Children Act to provide that the aid allocated for the provision of security services to non-public schools under the statute may also be used for mental health services. So that's really, I guess, an overview of the Assembly and Senate bill that's listed on the work session agenda, and I was hoping that the council would support putting it onto the December 15th consent agenda.
I think it's important to share with the council, Josh, that this does not include an increase.
Correct.
So I think if you could clarify that so the council member.
Sure. Basically, it's providing for in terms of the funding that's already been voted upon and been agreed to by the state legislature. It just would now, by expanding the definition of what it means to have a secure school, it would allow the entities to use some of those funds if necessary for mental health services.
Right. So just to be clear, it's not asking for additional funding. It's already, it would be
Correct.
Allowing the funds to be used also for mental health services.
Yes.
So I'm happy to have the council address that at the 12:15 meeting. Okay. Does anybody have anything they would like to discuss about their goals? Okay. I don't believe we have any need for an executive session today. And in that case, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.